Welcome back to Old School Sports and our OOTP 22 playthrough of the New York Yankees. We are at the start of the 2036 season. The Yankees are projected to be one of the top teams in the American League again, and our goal, as always, is to win the championship. Ownership, that's their goal also for this season, and they also want us to make about $27 million this year. So, a lot of pressure on us as general manager of the Yankees. In fact, Brad Kreider recently said that he's worried with our performance and hopes that we can make him happy this year. It is, at this point, the final year of my contract with the team. If Mr. Kreider is to let me go, given the legendary reputation I have, I don't think I'll have a difficult time finding a job. Looking right now at the available jobs out there, have my pick of about 10 or 12 positions. So we will see what happens. He hasn't been pleased that I've been spending more money than he would like me to. But by the same token, when you look at our history, at this point we have 12 consecutive playoff appearances and 2 World Series titles in our 14 years as general manager. So we've done reasonably well. Looking at our pitching staff, we are led by the lefty Bobby Chappa, former Cy Young Award winner for these Yankees, Tyson Neighbors, Jack Leiter, Tyler Fullman, and Ruben Mariona, a 24-year-old who has had a problem staying healthy, but has been a really great pitcher for us over the years. Tim Wallace is back as our closer, and Danny Harder and Tamasine Kaku are 2 of the other big arms out of our bullpen. And then we've also got a lot of good pitchers who can potentially fill in the 4th or 5th starter role if we have any injury issues, which I'm sure we will. Greg Sims is a rookie making his major league debut for us as a lefty out of the bullpen this year. And then looking at our lineup, we are loaded and ready to score some more runs this year, led off by Wander Franco, who signed as a free agent with us last season. And we have trained him so he is now turning and becoming a second baseman, excuse me, at the age of 35. A couple of homegrown players in Kevin Daniels and Gabe Cologne. Shiku Shu, another outfielder hitting cleanup. Homegrown Dave Bravo and Eric Markin hitting 5th and 6th. Bo Bichette in the final year of his contract. Still a very good defensive shortstop, although not quite the bat that he used to have. Drew Romo, great defensive catcher. And then Victor Mejias, another homegrown player, bats 9th and is our 3rd baseman. Lineup is only slightly different against left-handers. Essentially, we move Markin out of the lineup and substitute in Kevin Blunt as our DH. So we are going to get the season started. Goal is absolutely to win the American League East again during this regular season, hopefully claim home field advantage for the playoffs, and set ourselves up for a long postseason run that hopefully will result in the 30th World Series championship for the New York Yankees franchise. And the Yankees have gotten off to a great start, 10-3, but just lost Tyson Neighbors, our number 2 starter, to a torn labrum for 4 to 5 months. So obviously not optimal to lose one of our best pitchers this early in the year. The only positive thing is that it's only April 19th, so theoretically he should be hopefully back and pitching with us for part of September, and hopefully that will mean that if we make it to the postseason, he will be ready to contribute when we are there. And we've simmed ahead to June. The Yankees still having a very good season, 34-18 record, up by 5 games on the Blue Jays in the American League East. Second best record in the American League behind only the Oakland A's at this point. And also behind Chicago Cubs in the NL. So only 2 teams with a better record than us at this point. Dave Bravo, 3rd in the league with 15 home runs. Kevin Daniels tied for 1st with 49 runs batted in. Gabe Cologne, 3rd in steals. OPS. Kevin Daniels leading the league. Kevin Daniels also leading the league in batter WAR, and Bobby Chapa leading the league in wins. So a pretty good start to the season for the Yankees at this point. The injury situation, it's really just the one big injury to Tyson Neighbors that's the big issue. He's got 3 months left with that torn labrum. Tim Wallace is on the IL, our closer. More precautionary than anything. You can see he's already healed up from the injury, but he's still got 4 days left till he'll be back. But the Yankees are playing well, and the goal is to stay healthy and continue to lead the American League East. Well, we've reached the midway mark of the season. Yankees 53-29, still 5 games up on top of the Blue Jays in the American League East. Have the best record in the American League at this point. That being said, ownership's still not thrilled with us. They're very happy with our record, but they're not pleased with our payroll management. We haven't increased profit enough for them, so they remain worried about our progress towards our goals. Expect more from us. Hard to believe that with the track record we've put together, there's any chance of us actually losing our job, but this is an ownership group that is very focused on extreme profit. That is their top priority. So at some point, maybe they'll get annoyed with us not making them as much money as they'd like to, even though we have very consistently been one of the best teams in baseball. Another injury to our pitching staff, just lost Tyler Fullman to elbow tendonitis for 7 weeks. Obviously not optimal, but as we talked about at the beginning of this and extensively in our previous episode on the off-season, we have probably 4 or 5 pitchers in our bullpen who can potentially start for us. So the loss of a 4th or 5th starter is not a huge issue for us. We will plug into the rotation one of those guys, bring up somebody from Scranton Wilkes-Barre to fill the spot in the rotation, and just keep humming along. As long as we don't have any season-ending serious injuries to the pitchers, we're in good shape. You know, we do have 2 of our top 4 starters on the IL right now, in Fullman and Neighbors. But they both should be back long before the end of the regular season, and hopefully at full strength by the time we get to the playoffs. Well, the Yankees continue to play some incredible baseball. We are near the end of July, closing in on the trade deadline. Record is 68-32, up by 15 games on Toronto in the American League East. We're 8-2 in our last 10, while Toronto is 1-9. So really opening up some distance between us and the rest of the division over the past week and a half or so. Clearly the best record in baseball, but by only a little bit over the Cubs, who are also having a fantastic season. We are obviously all in on trying to win this season, so we're going to spend a little time now digging in and seeing what is available in terms of the trade market. Would obviously love to add another big-time starting pitcher to our team. Looking at the Yankees and how the season has gone so far, you can see we are a dominant offense, first in every offensive category except for walks. And our pitching is pretty good, generally in the top 3 in a lot of categories in the league, but could obviously always use another starter. So we are going to potentially go even more all in on this season and do a little work to see if there is anybody interesting on the trade block. Just pulling it up before we spend a lot of time thinking about it. There are some players out there, looking at starting pitcher Matthew Champion right here, catcher Adley Rutschman. There's definitely some talent out there, so we will give it some thought. Well, there's no rock stars available on the trade wire and are on the trade block, and I also just looked at some of the best starters in the game, and the prices for them were not surprisingly prohibitive. But we have put a deal together to get Josh Brown from the Diamondbacks. You can see he's got Very good stuff and very good movement. Very mediocre control, however. He does have three good pitches with sinker, cutter, and a knuckle curve, and a changeup that doesn't do too much. So he's a three-pitch starter. Hasn't been incredible over the course of his career. His ERA plus is 102 and his FIP minus is 98. So really just kind of been a pretty average major league starter, but he is an extreme ground ball pitcher with pretty good velocity. With our defense behind him, the hope is maybe he can do a little better. So we'll be picking up him, and Arizona will actually keep a good chunk of his salary. And we're also going to pick up a closer prospect, 25-year-old Eric Moore. Not all that exciting, but looks like he can certainly contribute to a major league bullpen. Not going to be a completely painless trade for us, though. I have to give up David Espinoza, catcher, who was our second-round pick 4 years ago. You can see he projects as a very good hitter for a catcher. And he's also got a incredible personality, the best that you could ever have. High leadership, loyalty, adaptability, work ethic, and intelligence, and low greed. I think probably the first perfect profile I can remember seeing for a personality. But he's just not a very good defensive catcher, and he's never really going to have a position to play. So he's a pure DH, but he's obviously, his potential to be a plus hitter. Also need to give up a pitching prospect, only 19 years old. Definitely, if he gets his changeup working better, could turn into a decent pitcher in Raul Pena. And then also have to give up left fielder Bobby Matroka, who was our first-round pick just a couple years ago. Pretty solid hitting prospect, lots of speed, pretty good with a lot of the intangibles, and a good defensive outfielder. So it's definitely not painless, but we are all in on this season and want to make sure that we have enough pitching in the event that we have further injuries, and we'll probably look to see if we can extend Josh Brown also, since he will be a free agent after this season. So the deal has been done. And it looks like Josh Brown will be slotting in as our number 3 starter right now, behind Bobby Chappa and Jack Leiter. Obviously, if and when we get Tyler Fullman and Tyson Neighbors back, question is whether he'll be our 4 starter or 5 starter. Presumably Tyson Neighbors, if healthy, will move back into the 2 hole. I tend to think that Brown is probably going to be a little bit better than Pullman, which makes me think he could very well be in our rotation for the playoffs. But at the very least, we have improved our depth of our pitching staff, and need to kind of focus on trying to win it all this season. And the acquisition of Brown may prove to be very smart, as Bobby Chappa just went out with shoulder tendonitis for the next 5 to 6 weeks. So losing our ace is not going to be good. The only positive thing is it's only August 5th, so similar to Fullman and Neighbors, there's a pretty good chance that we will have him back for the playoffs if everything goes well with his rehabilitation and recovery from his injury. We've simmed just a little bit since a week or so since we last checked in before the trade deadline, still up 15 games on Toronto with a 74-34 record. So the Yankees remain in very good shape, even though when we look at the injury list right now, our first, second, and fourth starters are on it. We have enough depth that so far it has not been a big issue for us. Just had a somewhat major injury to Ruben Mariona, torn meniscus in his knee. He is out for 5 months. His career is not going the way that it had planned. He's just 24 years old, been up in the majors the last 3 years, and had done brilliantly until this season. He'd started 24 games for us this year, was 10-9 with a 5.31 ERA, so was out there until now every 5 days, but not pitching particularly well this year. Seems to be a player who had really great potential and great upside, who at 24 years old is already fragile, has missed significant time each of the last 3 seasons, obviously done for the year now. Still have some hopes that he will come back and be a contributor for the Yankees, but at this point does not seem like someone that we can really count on, unfortunately. And we've moved on to early September. Yankees' magic number is down to 4, 96-42 record. By far the best record in the AL, and 4.5 games up on the Cubs for the best record in baseball. So the season has been fantastic so far for the Yankees. Just got some bad news though. Lost a important starter for us, Jack Leiter, who in a perfect world is our number 3 starter. Just ruptured his UCL, out for 9 to 10 months, so clearly gone for the year, and we'll miss a good chunk of next season also. So some bad news there to be losing out on Leiter this close to the playoffs. But as we've been talking about, we've tried to build a fair amount of redundancy into our rotation. Tyson Neighbors has been doing his rehab assignment down in AAA, pitched 2 games there. We will put him back onto the roster to hopefully take over for Leiter in the rotation. Not going to be ideal, but hopefully if we get Bobby Chappa back relatively soon and don't suffer any other significant injuries, we'll be able to overcome losing out on Leiter and Mariona when it gets to playoff time. Well, the Yankees have made it to the end of the regular season, and it was a fantastic regular season for New York with a 108-54 record. Won the American League East by 26 games over the Red Sox. Best record in baseball by 3 games over the Cubs and by 7 games over the Oakland A's. So the Yankees will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs as long as they keep playing. Taking a quick look at some of the highlights from the season as far as the leaders. Kevin Daniels, an MVP candidate, just a monster season. 331 batting average, which was 3rd in the league. Led the league with 45 home runs and led the league with 136 runs batted in. So almost a triple crown. Gabe Cologne, huge year, 32 home runs, 36 stolen bases, so a 30-30 season for Cologne. Daniels led the league in OPS, tied for the league lead in batter WAR. Just a fantastic season for the young outfielder. Don't really have anyone showing up in the top 3 in the pitching categories. Our 2 top starters, as you may remember, Bobby Chappa and Tyson Neighbors, both had significant injuries throughout the season and missed a lot of time. But both are hopefully now healthy and well as we will be preparing for the playoffs, and we'll be finding out who we are going to be playing shortly. We'll be facing off against either the 87-75 White Sox, who beat us in the ALDS last year, or the 90-72 Angels in the ALDS in a few days. And we will get into the playoffs as well as a recap of all of the stats from this 2036 season in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching and hope you have a great day.